Welcome to a dialogue on accountability in the digital age. A dialogue with representatives of a global, multi-stakeholder community.
And I'm your host, Frits Bussemaker, and today I'm delighted and privileged to have a conversation with Olivier Crochat. Olivier, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Let me introduce Olivier to the audience. Olivier, you are the Executive Director of the Center of Excellence for IT Security and Personal Data Protection. And that is part of the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, so you're based in Switzerland.
That's correct. The center is called Center for Digital Trust.
Yes.
ODT,
Yeah.
and our main activities are around cybersecurity, of course, but also personal data protection and transparency in the use of the digitalization and the tools.
Okay. First of all, let me just start by inviting you to tell a little bit more about the center, why it was set up, and what the objectives are.
Yeah, the EPFL, so the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne, we are a technical school and we do a lot of research and education in this domain, IT and cyber and data. And the idea was more to send, and that's why we have centers at EPFL, is really to do this interface between academic research on the one hand, and then also the other players, which are industry and the authorities. So we here, centers like ours are here to do this interface, this place where everybody can discuss those new technologies.
Excellent. I understand that your center has about 20 partners, 37 laboratories. Who are your typical partners who welcome you?
Yeah, we have different types of partners. We have startups. We have a few of those, and more larger companies like Kudelski or Roche, for example. Microsoft is also one of the well-known. But the idea is also not only to have, let's say, for-profit companies, but we have also not-for-profit or or governmental organization like Arma Suisse, the International Red Cross Committee of Fondation Lambda.
Okay. Now, I'm hearing a couple of international organizations, but also a number of Swiss organizations. So what's your focus area? Is that Switzerland, Europe, or global?
The focus is global. Of course, the digitalization and the consequences of digitalization are global. So we take advantage of the let's say democratic, stable, and neutral country that we're in Switzerland, and the idea is to be the place to discuss those issues without having any background or a hidden agenda that other countries might have.
Okay, no, I got that. Now, what's the key reason why this institute is needed? Why was the center formed in the beginning?
That's a good question. I would say that the point is any new technology or anything we can do in the digital world on the technical side, it could be used for good or for bad. And sometimes we try to develop things for good, and then there are some side effects or unknown or unexpected usage that are for bad. So the idea is really to be here to ensure first that what we do or what the scientific research do is for good, and also to maybe more raise awareness of the legal or political partners on the things that comes and how to support them in ensuring that it will be done for good.
Excellent. By the way, when you talk about for good, that reminds me also of, I'd say, the next door neighbors, the ITU in Geneva, who run the AI for Good initiative. Is that also something you're looking at?
We're not directly. There is a center for AI or for intelligent system at EPFL that covers more of those AI in general that could be used for any type of usage. We're more when we consider AI, it's more on the how could it be used to attack.
Yeah.
So how to protect, or how to protect misusage when you develop some algorithms, and then you might leak private data by training them or things like that, on problems in anonymization. And that's where we try to improve this part, or to support the research on this side.
Okay. Before we go into the research, or maybe that is part of the research question, what are the key differences between the offline world and the online world?
I would say maybe two things. First one, the offline one is, I wouldn't say offline, but online. Yeah, the online one is really without borders, government. You have some rules, but you might have actors from completely remote places acting in a country or providing services without respecting those rules, and it's a lot more difficult to ensure that all the players are respecting local rules. I wouldn't say one is better than the other, but it's really respecting that on geographical and authority side than in the real world, where it's easy to see whether a product you sell it in a country or not, and if you are based in that country or not.
Yeah. So the fact that in cyberspace we don't have those physical boundaries, the geographical boundaries, that's the key difference as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, physical and also legal or governmental law,
Okay.
and yeah.
Okay, and now if I go to your website, I see a number of research projects carried out. What for you are the most significant topics at the moment which requires research?
Yeah. We have indeed, you mentioned the 37 labs, so it's more than 400 researchers, PhD, postdoc, and professors working on those subjects. From what we've seen, the research interest, maybe not the research one, because research are doing things for the future long term, but we see the focus from our partners and maybe the governments, the authorities, and what they look for and what they contact us for. There has been a shift in the last 4 years from digital ledger technologies and blockchains,
Yeah.
to more privacy enhancement technologies, what we call the PETs, and also AI, misusage of AI, biases, and how to ensure that there is a fair and ethical usage of AI. That's definitely something we see. And the other one is more, I wouldn't say it's really research oriented, it's more practical usage, but it's of course cybersecurity. When you have those attacks and everything, how to ensure the security of digital infrastructure, or even physical one that have a digital part that could be hacked or attacked.
Yeah, that's actually a nice segue to a question I had for you, because we tend to have this discussion quite a lot about the software side, but also the hardware and the physical infrastructure is just so much a part of the complete digital package. So do we sometimes forget that we also have hardware, legacy, old systems which things run on?
I think it's a really good point. We talk about digitalization, but digitalization it's a concept. You have physical infrastructure to allow this digitalization. When you say, oh, my data is in the cloud, it's not in the air. It's in data centers. It's on servers, hardware. And then to have access to it, you need cables. You need a mobile phone, or I don't know what. So you're right to the point. We talk about virtual space, but it relies only on physical infrastructure, and that's a major issue, and we are quite aware of it. I think with what happened lately, yeah, that's true.
Okay, and given your experience, do you think society is aware enough that we have an issue with digital technology, and that is where that digital trust might be diminishing?
It used to be the case, to be honest. There were some lack of understanding, but I think with what happened first with the Cambridge Analytica scandal,
Yeah.
you can interfere, you can manipulate opinions And you don't have to do that for 90% of the population. If you just target the right 4 or 5 persons, it's enough to move from one let's say candidate to the other in a country. And I think that's when people started to say, oh yeah, we need to it might be a problem. That was the first thing. But then what really was the thing, it's the war in Ukraine. And there you see that physical infrastructure, that manipulation or even cyber attacks could be a problem. You have a lot of countries going back to this sovereignty. We need to be able to be self-sustainable. But then where do you place the cursor? Where is it? Is it on the application? Is it the servers? We mentioned the physical infrastructure. The chipsets. Where do you stop?
Yeah, and does your research, I mean, you hit on something which I find quite interesting, the self-sovereignty. Has there been any research done on, you see in Europe now, okay, we need to be a self-sovereign entity in Europe. Is that good or bad? Because the good side is, okay, you're still in control of your own technology. But the bad side is you're isolating yourself from the rest of the world. And that's the one thing which internet technology, as we described, actually offers as a benefit, that we are connected.
Yeah. No, that's the point where, yes, as you say, we were like in a completely connected world. That's fine, because each of the places is specialized in one or the other, and then we can interact and we share, and everybody is, there is this growth, ongoing growth. I think we might have reached the end of this thing. But then the problem of sovereignty, you mentioned, yeah, I could do everything standalone. It's not true. At one point, you won't have the either gas or petrol or the rare earth you need, like to develop your chipset. So even if you manage to develop your own chipset, you might end up missing something for your batteries or for your developing that. So there will need to be some exchange on one point or another. And if everybody is just acting only for themselves and not the other, then we will be in trouble for sure.
Yes. Okay. And by the way, is that part of your research, or could that be research? Is that part of your charter?
I would say it's important, but we are not, as mentioned before, we're a technical school. So we're really acting on basic science, or what we call sciences de base, like mathematics, physics, chemistry, or computer science, or other application, robotics and things like that. So we develop new technologies, but we might be missing, or not. We are missing. We're not a school that develop ethical standpoint, economic standpoint, or matching like risk analysis, governance, or legal. So that's why also we have this center. We're here to bring the technical side to the table so that people discuss together, but we bring experts from all the other fields to have this like different lights or points of view, and trying to discuss those topics.
Okay, I realize what you're coming from. I still want to challenge you a little bit on this when it comes to how are we going to organize governance in a digital world. One of the reasons why the our Institute for Accountability was set up is the concern about the growing gap between the fast developing digital technology and the legal framework, which could not keep up. So you see global debates, okay, well, how are we going to deal with this 21st century issue? Is that rethinking legal frameworks? You do see discussions going from, okay, let's go from, for instance, rule-based to principle-based legislation. That is in itself already a good thing to do. But do you also see opportunities to look at organizing governance using technology? And is that something you look at?
That might be a bias that the people working in the technology have. There is this type of thinking that no, it's a problem, we can fix that.
Yeah.
We always have, there are always technical solutions to a problem. Yeah, we can fix that. We can do that. No, it's not a problem bias. We can change that, or we can adapt. And yes, we can on the technical side, but you always find solutions for misuses also, and your people not fixing, but trying on the contrary, trying to find breaches and things like that. So you cannot avoid legal, governmental policy discussions and governance discussions, and at one point that's where you will really set the framework, and then you have to have ways to punish people that are not respecting those rules. Yeah.
True. Yeah. No, that still requires law. You're not going to use technology for that, but you might be able to use technology to identify who those people are. Those organizations.
Yeah, then yeah, of course, then you can improve the technology to, but it's an arms race, you know. We try to improve how to do fakes, and then we improve how to detect fakes, and then yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now, in your view, what are the biggest threats for accountability when it comes to digital technology? Is that a question your institute actually addresses or not?
Yeah, not directly. That's not. We can provide maybe tools, as mentioned, tools to identify. But I think it's, when we talk about accountability, it's really up to the country to say, or Europe, or let's say government to say, that's what we said it can be done or cannot be done, and who is accountable for what. Autonomous driving, is it the software manufacturer, the car company, or for example things like that? Of course, when we talk about cyber criminality, and then you end up in this gray zone where countries say, no, we should not do that, but on the other hand, there are some teams in my country doing that, or I don't want to, we don't want breaches or backdoors, but we are still developing some. So that's where it becomes a bit more difficult, because you never know whether a country really wants to promote things, or whether they have I've talked about hidden agendas. They might have some. So that's sometimes difficult.
Okay, is that also are these the type of discussions you have with your students? I mean, because it's I'm making some assumptions here, but when you have this type of research with your students, you can also train them to build accountable systems from scratch and by design. Yeah.
There are, of course, some discussions, and I think EPFL is really into SDGs and ethical kind of being an engineer within really thinking about what you're developing, and we do that, of course.
Yeah,
we do that.
Okay, and
the people and to the companies you work for, and
are there any guidelines or a global set of standards you suggest we should all adhere to?
I'm not sure. There might be something at EPFL, but to be honest, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. Now, for you, how does what's your idea of an ideal world? Like, do you have a picture which you describe? You should look like, this is how the world should look like, and this is our role to play. But let me rephrase the question. It comes back, I mean, it's a Center for Digital Trust. What's your definition of digital trust in this case? Who trusts what, and what are we trusting?
Yep, I think we should trust the technology, but I think it's a good point, because when we talk about trust in technology, it's because trust it's a human feeling. You cannot say, okay, you check a few boxes and then you trust or not. It's in your brain. You trust somebody because somebody told you to trust that. You trust a service because you feel that, but you cannot just say, over the threshold I don't trust, and this one I trust. So it's more, most of the tools we developed and we call, we can trust, but it's more the zero trust. It's more, we don't trust people, we don't trust data, we don't trust storage. So we try to develop things where we ensure that even if everything is not acting as we would like or trying to spy us, our technology will ensure that we still are in total control of our things. So we're talking about trust, but we're developing technologies that alleviate those barriers or remove the need for trust in people. Is it good? Is it bad? I'm not sure.
Okay, no, but it's a perspective. But if you state, okay, we need to trust digital technology, that also rings to me the need for transparency. Would you agree that we need to be transparent what we're doing?
Yeah, and it's also this trust comes from, yes, we have this transparency, it's open source code, or we see the algorithm and we have people we trust that say, yes, if it's on that way, there won't be any leakage problem or backdoors or anything, or there won't be any, the algorithm was developed in a fully transparent way. Oh, it behaves badly, but it was not done on purpose. Okay, there was a good faith when they developed them. We can fix that, or we can try to improve. There is always some ways to improve, of course.
Okay, and
maybe
go ahead.
Something I find interesting is that there is a tendency also to say, oh, you developed that, but it's not trustful because there is, in this case, it's not working, or we could fool the system. That most of the time, you see, what has been put in place is a lot better one than what was in place before. And people always complain, it's not working there. Yeah, but it's a lot better than it was before, and you want the 100% assurance. We were at 25, we've come up with a solution at 85, and you complain that it's not 100. Come on, it's already better.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I very much recognize that discussion. So as long as a human is involved, mistakes can be made because mistakes are human. But the minute we turn it over to a machine, then mistakes are not made. Then it's a faulty system.
Yeah.
So that's also a part of maybe education that we need to understand as society that systems are not flawless. So trust in the system also is accepting that particular case.
No, it's exactly that. I'm fully aware that when you had one human doing a mistake, that happened, your bank account information is given out or something. It's one bank account. If you have a system handling millions of things that has a problem, then it might affect a lot. One single mistake could affect a lot more people or data, or I don't know what, in a fully digital system. That's for sure. Okay. But it's also easier to fix.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, Olivier, but I still want to ask you the question. What for you is a relationship between digital trust and accountability?
I think it's really up to what you said about transparency. You set up things and in a way that is transparent enough to say that's what we plan to do with them, and we give you a way to check that, and that's a real thing, because there are some companies using your data. Mm-hmm. Fair enough, as long as it's clear how they use them, and there are maybe some guidelines, so that they are not used wrong, and we have maybe people auditing. I don't need to audit, and I will not. I'm not reading all the small characters in the general condition. I will not audit my data or the way an algorithm is doing or not. But if I can trust that a company or an NGO or a foundation can check that, or specialists, and they say, yeah, it's fine, we're fine with that, then I will trust those to represent me, and the civil society as a whole, or something like that. And even, I could even trust it's trusting the government also. We have a lot of people losing confidence in the government. Yeah, we don't trust the government. We want a fully, let's say, voting systems where the government is not in charge. Sorry, in Switzerland, in other European country, you should trust the government. If you start not trusting anybody, then there is a problem there. Yeah.
Yeah, and to what extent are, I mean, and I recognize it for myself as well, living in the Netherlands, you living in Switzerland. To some extent, people could argue it's a luxury being able to trust your government from where we live. But we have seen examples around the world where you may not want to trust your government as default.
Yeah, that's true.
So then who to trust?
Yeah, maybe the technologies, of course, if there are things developed that could be used by people.
Yeah.
To overcome this problem. But in the end, it will be up to people to get a government that they can trust also. It's not an easy task, but I'm sure it's really difficult in some countries, but that's where you should aim at. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, final question for me, Olivier. Where would you put your effort in? What would be your recommendation, people viewing this? This is the first thing you need to do to build digital trust.
Right now, I would say data usage, personal data, any type of data, how to ensure that those data are not in the end of very few companies that have huge power in the way they could use that. But that those sets of data could be used by others to develop for good, really, and to be used to develop new things that are for good.
Okay. Fully understand where you're coming from, and okay, in this case, I'll actually give my own comment there. I fully agree with what you're saying there. So, Olivier, Crochat, I want to thank you so much sharing your insights, what your center is doing. We'll make certain people are aware and being able to find your center when they view this interview, this dialogue. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.